When you've spent 40, 50, or even 60 years side by side with someone, building a home, raising kids, weathering life's storms together, you start to believe you'll always be a pair. So when the silence comes, it doesn't knock, it crushes. That was what losing my wife Margaret felt like. A slow collapse. She passed in her sleep at 73, just months after our anniversary. We had plans for a garden, a road trip down to the Gulf Coast. Instead, I woke up to stillness. And then, the weight of decisions I wasn't ready to make. No one prepares you for widowhood in old age. We talk about retirement, health, estate planning, but not about what happens after the person you built your world with is gone. And that's why I'm sharing this today. Because I made mistakes, big ones, and I've seen too many older adults around me do the same. So if you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, or you love someone who is, listen closely. These are the 5 costly mistakes I wish someone had warned me about, told from the heart, grounded in experience, and backed by the kind of elderly wisdom you only earn through loss. This is for those navigating life after 70, those who know that grief doesn't end with the funeral. It just begins to settle in, quietly reshaping the rest of your life. Mistake number 1, rushing into financial decisions too soon. The week after Margaret's funeral, I opened her files, insurance documents, bank statements, the retirement accounts we had reviewed together every year. My hands shook with every form I signed. I told myself I was being responsible. In truth, I was trying to regain control over a life that felt shattered. But grief is not the time for big decisions. The National Institute on Aging has warned that widows and widowers in the first 6 to 12 months are at the highest risk of making impulsive financial choices. And I lived that firsthand. I nearly sold our home. I considered giving a large sum to a family member because I felt guilty that they were helping me grieve. My friend Arthur wasn't so lucky. At 76, he lost his wife to cancer. Within months, a financial advisor convinced him to reinvest their savings. Arthur thought he was being smart. He lost over $80,000 in a matter of weeks. When you lose your spouse, it feels like someone cut your compass in half. Don't chart a new course while the storm is still raging. Wait a year if you can. Talk to someone you trust, preferably more than one person. Life after 70 already comes with complexity. Don't compound it with rushed decisions. As the wise elders say, grief is not a time for movement. It's a time for grounding. Mistake number 2. Letting loneliness pull you into the wrong relationship. There's an emptiness that settles in after loss. It's not just about the quiet house or the empty side of the bed. It's the missing witness to your life. The person who knew your routines, your moods, your history. That void makes you crave connection, which is normal. But that craving can lead you down dangerous paths, especially when you're over 70, newly vulnerable and yearning to feel seen again. Barbara, 74, was vibrant, sharp, and deeply loved her late husband of 51 years. 6 months after his passing, she met someone new through her church group. He was attentive, affectionate, and kind. At first. Within a year, he had moved in, gained access to her accounts, and slowly isolated her from her children. When he left, she was emotionally shattered and financially drained. This is not rare. In fact, the Journal of Elder Abuse and Neglect has documented that seniors who recently lost a spouse are twice as likely to fall victim to romantic financial abuse. Companionship is not the enemy. Rushing into it is. Let the grief pass through you before you hand your heart to someone new. Take your time. Observe. Let life lessons from the elderly guide you. One woman here at the home, Miriam, once told me, if someone can't wait for you to heal, they're not coming for love. They're coming for opportunity. And she was right. Elderly wisdom isn't just about being cautious. It's about protecting the love you still carry with you. Neglecting your health. While grieving when Margaret died, I didn't eat for days. Then I started skipping meals altogether. I stopped walking. My medication routine went out the window. I wasn't trying to give up. I just didn't care. What I didn't realize is how dangerous that was. According to Harvard Medical School, people over 65 who experience the death of a spouse are at a 66% higher risk of dying within the first 3 months. The stress, the inflammation, the shock to your system, it's not just emotional, it's biological. I saw it happen to James, 79, who used to walk 2 miles every morning with his wife. After she passed, he didn't leave the house for almost 6 weeks. By the time his daughter visited, he had lost 20 pounds and was hospitalized for dehydration and pneumonia. Grief isn't gentle on the body. It wears you down. But if you let it, it will take everything. This is why senior health is about more than blood pressure and step counts. It's about reminding yourself every single day that you're still here. You still deserve care. And the person you lost, they would want you to take care of yourself. So eat something, even if it's small. Take that walk. Keep your doctor's appointments. And if you can't do it for yourself yet, do it for the person who loved you best. Healthy aging is not just about extending life. It's about honoring it. Mistake number 4, cutting off the people who want to help you. Grief makes you want to withdraw. You stop returning phone calls. You let invitations go unanswered. You isolate, not out of anger, but out of emptiness. I did this too. My son would call and I'd ignore it. My neighbor brought food and I left it on the porch. I told myself I needed space. But what I really needed was connection. Brigham Young University released a study showing that loneliness increases the risk of death by 26%, especially in people over 70. It affects the immune system, heart health, even memory. And here's the thing. The longer you isolate, the harder it is to come back. You start believing that no one understands. No one wants to hear you talk about your grief. But you're wrong. In the nursing home where I live now, we make it a point to show up for each other. Helen, who lost her husband after 55 years, told me, "The first step I took out of my room was the step that saved me. So take the step. Call your daughter back. Say yes to coffee. Join the senior group. Connection heals more than any medicine. And as the sayings passed down from older adults remind us, a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved. Wise elders don't suffer in silence. They speak, they reach, and they heal." Mistake number 5, forgetting to create a new purpose for your life. This was the hardest one for me. For 52 years, my purpose was Margaret. Everything I did, career, home, travel, even retirement, was built with her in mind. After she died, I didn't just lose her, I lost myself. For months I wandered, watched too much television, said no to everything. Until one day a volunteer asked if I could mentor younger caregivers about what aging really feels like. I said yes. That yes brought me back. Life after 70 demands a new kind of courage, the courage to reinvent. You are not just what you've lost. You are what you still carry and what you choose to share. Doris, 85, paints watercolors for the local children's hospital. John, 80, started teaching piano lessons again. I speak to groups like this hoping one story can change the course for someone else. Purpose doesn't retire when your spouse does. It evolves. It waits for you to come find it again. So ask yourself, not what have I lost, but what can I still give? That is the beginning of the next chapter. Because as every wise elder knows, after 70, it doesn't matter how many years you have left. What matters is what you do with the time still in your hand. If you're still listening, still watching, still here with me, I want to say something that no one said to me after I lost Margaret. You're allowed to keep living, not just existing, not just surviving, but truly living, with laughter again, with curiosity, with purpose. Losing a spouse changes everything, yes, but it doesn't have to end everything. Because what I've learned from years of watching older men and women navigate this same pain is that the ones who find their way back, the ones who rediscover joy, aren't the ones who forget. They're the ones who build a new kind of life in honor of what they had. You may feel broken right now. That's okay. But broken doesn't mean finished. Let your grief move through you, not control you. Let your memories guide you, not trap you. And most of all, let the wisdom of old age become your strength, not your sorrow. In this stage of life, whether you're 70, 75, or 85, you are still the author of your own story. And there is still time to write something meaningful. Talk to your family. Ask for help. Share your story. Life after 70 doesn't have to be a slow fade. It can be a quiet bloom. That's what I've come to believe. That's what the wise elders around me have shown me. If this video spoke to something in you, if it reminded you of someone you love, share it. Don't keep it to yourself. There's someone else sitting in silence right now who needs to hear that they're not alone. Because we are all just walking each other home. And as the life lessons from the elderly teach us, grief is the price we pay for deep love. But healing? Healing is what we do with the time we still have. Thank you for listening.